Title: The Flickering Lights. Jake Matthews had always been a creature of habit. A high school English teacher by day, and an avid movie buff by night, he filled his evenings with the films that cultivated his passion for storytelling. His one-man ritual of Sunday nights was sacred: dimming the lights, silencing the phone, and pressing play on whatever horror flick tickled his fancy. But lately, there was a nagging feeling in the back of his mind that something was off. He had become obsessed with the peculiar old record store down the street from his apartment. It was a quaint little place barely noticed by the bustling city, sagging under the weight of time and shadows, yet it had that certain charm. Jake found himself drawn to the dusty shelves lined with VHS tapes. He noticed a strange, worn-out tape with no label, just a cracked black plastic case. A shiver ran down his spine, but enthralled by curiosity, he bought it. Back home, he inserted the tape into his ancient VCR, a relic he had kept from his college days. The static flickered on the screen, but instead of hitching a ride on comfort, Jake felt an unsettling prickle sweep across his skin. He tried to shake off the feeling as ghostly images began to dance before him. It was a montage of the most notorious horror villains, from Jason Voorhees to Freddy Krueger. Intrigued, but doubtful, he leaned in closer. The characters began to break the fourth wall, their gazes piercing through the screen, as if they were aware he was watching. Jake laughed it off. Surely, it was just a clever cinematic gimmick. But as the tape rolled on, an odd sensation cocooned him, tightening like a vice. Suddenly, the screen glitched. Loud crackles erupted from the speakers. The characters emerged from the flickering screen, beginning to materialize in his living room. Jake's laughter faded into sheer disbelief. Jason, clad in tatters, raised his machete. Freddy, the dream-weaving maniac, flexed his claws, grinning ominously. This can't be real," Jake stammered, stumbling back against the couch. One by one, they stepped out, a tumultuous choir of villainous cackles infusing the room with dread. Ghostface leapt over him, while Pennywise floated like smoke, a malicious grin trailing behind. They surrounded him, their laughter echoing from all corners as the air grew thick with terror. "Welcome to your very own nightmare, Jake," Freddy chuckled, his serrated glove glimmering with malice. In a panic, Jake grabbed the remote, frantically pressing buttons, desperate to pause reality and reclaim the safety of the mundane world he once knew. But it only made them angrier. A sardonic cackle erupted from Ghostface. "Oh, you think you can escape?" he teased, slipping behind Jake. "You brought us here, and now you're ours." Jake bolted towards the door, but Jason was there, looming larger than life, his mask catching the dim light glistening with scraps of reality. He swung his machete, cutting the air through which Jake had run, leaving an icy breeze in its wake, so close. "Hiding won't help," Pennywise whispered directly into Jake's ear. "We're all under the same roof now." Quote, what had started as a night of horror film amusement had spiraled into a personal hell, every laugh morphed into a menacing howling wind. Desperately, he tossed the remote aside, deciding he had to fight fire with fire. "Okay, let's play," Jake yelled, adrenaline pumping as he eyed the shelf where his own collection of horror movies towered. If they were real, he could use his knowledge against them. He fumbled through the tapes, looking for anything that might help. The living room began to warp as they converged on him. Just as they were about to attack, he found the tape he was looking for, an ancient film showcasing the art of closing portals. He shoved it into the VCR, heart-pounding, praying it would work. As the film played, Jake chanted the incantations echoed from the screen, hoping to reel back the curse. The laughter dissipated, replaced by a menacing growl. The villains lurched forward, the veil between reality and fiction collapsing around them. An otherworldly scream filled the air as their forms began to flicker violently, like static on a broken screen. "Finish it, or we'll take you with us," Freddy howled, lunging but stopping short as the dimensions closed in. Jake recited the final lines, the words falling from his lips like long-forgotten prayers. The air crackled ominously, and with a blinding flash, the characters shattered into shards of broken glass that imploded back into the screen. Panting, Jake fell to the floor, the silence of the living room returning as the lights flickered back to normalcy. The distant sounds of traffic resumed outside, but there was an unmistakable weight in the air. After what felt like an eternity, he dared to glance at the VCR. The tape lay ejected, cracked and shimmering ominously. Sweat dripped down his brow as he contemplated the consequences of his late-night whims. A heart-thumping realization dawned on him: horror wasn't just a genre. It was a vivid glimpse into the very essence of fear. As he gathered his wits, Jake remembered the sinister smile of each character that had invaded his sanctuary. He knew a part of them still lingered, lurking just beyond the shadows, waiting for the next fool to discover the tape that became a doorway. No, he wouldn't watch movies the same way again. He stood and stared at the VCR one last time. The darkness formed a whisper, curling through the air. He hadn't seen the last of them. Not yet.